This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
Greetings, one and all. This conversation features Carnifex frontman Scott Lewis. Carnifex have a new album due for release on September the 3rd, 2021, titled Graveside Confessions. So that is the catalyst for the conversation. Outside of that, we're talking about the impact that the pandemic has had on touring and maintaining a heavy metal band as an ongoing concern. We go deep in this one here. Truly enjoyed this conversation, so here he is. Scott Lewis from Carnifex.
Mate, I can
Hey,
hear you.
Andrew, you there?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Well, straight away, I've got to hand it to you. I reckon that's the best backdrop I've seen of a professional musician that I've had on a Zoom call yet.
Well, I guess we got some informal practice at being streamers through this shutdown. And we're in the studio right now, so this is where we did the record.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. No, it's
Yep.
killer. Is that the backdrop that you take on tour with you traditionally, or is that something that you've done for the streaming events?
Oh, no, this is a old backdrop, actually. We have this backdrop from 2017 when we did Warped Tour. So we don't use it anymore, but we did use it on one. Yeah.
It looks killer, and you got the pentagram there and everything, mate. It's nice for it to be, I don't know, is the term period specific?
We gotta
Setting
keep
specific.
the Carnifex aesthetic,
I love it, mate. Yeah, no, it's awesome. But how have the Zoom calls, if that's what they're called these days? I used to call them phonogrinds, but I can't call them that anymore. How have the calls been going?
They've been going pretty well. I will say, like this time around, doing record promotion is the most different from previous records. So it's like everybody wants to do a Zoom call. It's all video content now. It's all long form interview. Everybody wants 30, 45 minutes. So I have seen a big shift in, I guess, the way the media is trying to interact with the bands. It's like less about like the magazine article or the album review, and it's more about like the long form conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing you, mate. Well, you're in a killer band. This recent album, I've had it for 2 days, and I've listened to it probably 2 or 3 times. So Graveside Confessions.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Look, it's your 8th album, so congratulations first and foremost on being around for that long. It's been 20 years or something like that you've been doing this, which is a hell of
16. Yeah,
16. It's still a hell of an accomplishment, all things considered, given the nature of the industry that you're in. But I rated World War X highly. It was one of my albums of 2019. And look, no guesses for no prizes for guessing what you guys were up to during the pandemic then, with Graveside Confessions coming out now. But look, what I can say about Graveside Confessions after my 2 listens is that it's an album that I think honours your past, but it also builds on your legacy. So there's hints of where you're going forward. All in all, if I could summarise it, I'd say that it's a light-speed deathcore bonanza that fans will be tickled pink to hear once they wrap their ears around it. But I've got to ask, with everything fucking going on with this pandemic and, just all this shit, you've seen Afghanistan turning to shit once again, mate. I'm not saying that's got nothing to do with the music, but, we've got all this, we're hyper-aware of what's going on around us. But for you guys, the touring options are basically, they're either completely off the table or they're severely limited, because you guys are a crushing live act and I can't wait to see you guys live. But is it bittersweet that you get to produce an album as killer as what World War X was and Graveside Confessions certainly is, and you can't bring it to the people?
It was really tough on World War X. We really didn't do a touring cycle on it. We played one U.S. tour and one European tour, and then that was pretty much it. Not to mention that we were hours away from starting our Meta X tour with Three Teeth here in the States, and that was canceled on account of COVID. So we went into the pandemic in a really difficult situation as a business. We had tens of $1,000s of production debt related to a tour that we didn't play a single date on. And then you go from that into not generating revenue for a year and a half. I mean, business wise, we got destroyed. I don't know how else to say it. Our business was absolutely annihilated. All of us as individuals, financially annihilated. All of us are just hanging on to credit cards, in debt, had to move because people lost their places. I'm in forbearance on my mortgage.
Oh shit, dude.
It was an absolute disaster. I don't, it's a weird dichotomy, to be honest with you right now. I'm like doing all these interviews for the new record and I love that people enjoy it. Of course, it's not out yet. I don't really know how it's going to do, but the reality is we're all still really fucked. The record is not out yet. We're not touring yet. And so it's kind of a weird duality, which I guess is pretty on topic for the whole last year. It's been a weird duality. It's like really hard time for the band, but we got a really great record out of it. About to put this record out, but we're still really in a bad spot, financially and all the rest. So it's definitely a time of like, living at the ends of the spectrum. It's like nothing in between right now.
Was there ever a thought, I'm sure there was, but how close have you come, or potentially how close do you think you will come to maybe putting down the guitars and the drums and the microphone and finding a job in the civil service or what have you? Because I understand, no doubt you've got a family too, but you've certainly got financial commitments. But I mean, realistically, what does the future hold?
It all depends on how this record does. And if we can get back to our actual business, which is touring, the business of the band is live performance, it's touring. I'm sure this, but you don't make money from putting out a record. I mean, and that's compounded to the nth degree this time around because, Spotify and just being a digital band is really the only game in town. But the reality is those things don't produce money, so it's kind of, again, it's that whole duality where it's like, hey guys, your Spotify numbers are higher than they ever been. Well, that's awesome. That doesn't equate to 1 cent though. It's like, it's a weird place to be in the biz right now. It's tough, because you got to get out there and try to reach people. But, everybody's operating from the same marketing 101 handbook. Everybody knows how to get a band big, pony up for the ads, pony up for the collabs. It's just also formulaic right now that, I don't know, it's a little bit disheartening if I'm being completely honest, but maybe that's just because I'm in a bad space. I've been struggling for a year and a half. So we'll see what happens once we get on the road.
Yeah. And it's people say not to stress about things that are outside of your control, but how can you fucking do that when it's so much as it's
I didn't stress. Yeah. I'd just be homeless then, cool.
Yeah. I appreciated that you were so frank. Was it a year ago or so where you talked about that you'd lost $250K as a group due to the tour cancellation, and you broke it down though. You actually gave people a detail. You weren't, I mean, what these fans are like, there's another artist whinging or what have you. I didn't see that with your comments. It might have been there, but I did a deep dive last night and I thought the comment did get picked up by a lot of outlets, but a lot of people were like, oh shit, this is what really happens.
It's what actually happened. Yeah. That number isn't made up. That was what we were planning on making. And not only did we not make it, but we actually, ended up being in debt tens of thousands of dollars instead. So if you can imagine, 5 people trying to plan their lives out, and you got this month that's on the books, it's all going to be good to go. Business is booming, and then it goes from you think you're going to make that to, hey everybody, we're in the hole like 70 grand now. Figure it out, and for all of us, I mean, we got 15 years invested into this band. It's not like we had some side day job or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's like we're fully invested in this business. So to lose the year and a half, devastating. I still wonder if we're going to pull through, to be honest. I want to see what it's like when we get back on the road, see how this record does.
I haven't checked the numbers, and I'm not expecting you to know off the top of your head and even what the policy is around it. But I know here in Australia, they're saying As soon as the population gets to 80% vaccination, lockdowns will be a thing of the past. I don't believe our psychopathic political leaders. I think they're all cunts, excuse my language at this point in time. I'm fed up with, I'm a journalist, so I'm legitimately a journalist. I'm fed up with reading the same bullshit that I know that is all driven by populism. And I know for a fact it's exactly like that in the States. But is there something similar happening in the States in regards to the vaccination rates? Are they saying once you get to a certain percentage of the population being vaccinated, you can get back to you guys as a band? You know, that's most likely when you can get back to touring?
Well, I mean, we do have a tour booked for September. So we are going back out on the road in September. As far as like a federal mandate, that I haven't seen one that as it relates to herd immunity. I know they're just trying to get it up. There's right now what's going on is there's a big wave of the mandatory vaccinations. So I think that's going to probably push a lot of people to it that maybe were on the fence or just weren't thinking about it. And then seeing like Live Nation and AEG and all these concert promoters have made it mandatory as well. So that'll probably push some of the younger people to get vaccinated. So, you know, we'll just see. I'm totally burnt on politics, to be honest with you. Like, I just don't care anymore.
I think that's the same in most of the Western Hemisphere at this point in time. We're just done, aren't we? Just fed up.
I mean, maybe that makes me part of the problem. I don't fucking know, but I don't know what headline I'm going to read that's suddenly going to like make me some contributor. Like, what am I going to read that's going to make me more helpful? Nothing. So I'm just trying to focus on, I got to look out for our band, our crew. None of us have worked in a long time. The employment's run out. The bills are stacking up. We got to get back to work. That's how I'm looking at it. You know, we're just a business trying to survive right now.
You are indeed. And look, just with the what we've all been going through for the last 18 months or thereabouts, did a lot of that inform the lyrical themes across Graveside Confessions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always try to be pretty honest with my lyrics and pretty vulnerable. And, you know, for me, this last year and a half, that's all I've been feeling is vulnerability, insecurity, regret. You know, you're trying to wrap your head around the situation. And like, obviously we had nothing to do with the pandemic happening, but of course you think like, you know, where could my life have ended up? And maybe in another timeline, I would have been an essential person or something, you know, but I feel like it was tough, man. I feel like we basically just went down a 16-year dead end, you know?
Wow.
And
shit. Yeah, it's tough.
Cause it's like, okay, go get another job. Well, everything's closed. So there's that. And then it's like, you know, it just, when you look at the amount of time you invest into something, at some point, you know, you're kind of not so useful to the corporate space anymore or to the workforce anymore. You know, it's like, yeah, I dropped out of high school and I've been a touring musician for 16 years. And it's like, what the fuck does any of that mean? You know, next.
I'm having this very similar conversation with artists, no matter where I'm talking to people from all over the world, you know, whether it's Australia, Europe, North America, it's the same thing. It's like, what do we do if we can't get back to what it is that we've done now, in your case, for 16 years? I mean, these idiots online, they have a dig at bands that might be in their 50s and 60s and they're still playing the music, whether it be Exciter or what have you, that was going around in the 80s. But what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to recast yourself as someone that you're not. Your options are severely limited ultimately because of your character. And that's not, I'm not saying that's even anything you should be able to shift, but there should be some sort of government recognition of the fact that you are an artist and that you have had an impact on the corporate sphere or the capitalist environment, if you like. In other words, you are contributing to the tax paying, you know, you are a tax paying contributor in that rate. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, yeah, you know, art and a musician in the US, it's a little bit different. You know, I've had friends from Canada, friends from Europe, UK, France, whatnot, where they'll say, oh man, you know, we get a $40,000, you know, dollar or euro or whatever advance every year from the government for being artists and all that stuff. And it just doesn't work like that in the States. In the States, And I think kind of the attitude is like, if you want to be a musician or an artist, like that's on you. If you go and do that and you don't make any money, well, you chose to do that. So get fucked. And I guess there's some truth to that. You know, it's like you can choose to be anything you want. Nobody told me to be a musician. I made the choice to be a musician. So me investing all these years and being in the situation I'm in, well, that's just a product of my own choices. So, you know, get fucked. I kind of get that. That's why I kind of don't really talk about it.
Yeah. What I was trying to say before, and thank you for picking up on it. I mean, you're in a tax-paying generating business is what I'm saying. And that should get fair recognition when it comes to things like welfare. Okay. Anyway, look, but just talking about the album again. I mean, was the writing process this time around, was it fairly standard for you guys? Have you got a system that you plug into and it just works?
You know, we did have a system, but I guess a lot of the details were different this time around. You know, we typically will fly somewhere, like, you know, in the past we'd been going to Jason's studio out in Florida. So we'd fly out to Florida and, you know, you're there for like 2 months and you kind of all hole up and rent a place and do the record kind of a classic style. But this time around, obviously no one was going to Florida. We were doing the record here ourselves in the studio. So we kind of had this concentrated writing time of, you know, close to a year, writing and recording. Now we never really had before, you know, previously in the past, it's like you'll write a couple songs in between tours just because you're on the road so much. And then this time around, you know, obviously no tours. We're just here. It's just like a concentrated effort. So there was something beneficial to that, to have that momentum going, you know, across all 15 songs rather than kind of doing 2 or 3 at a time. So that was different. Sean being the engineer on the record and tracking everybody, including myself, was different. He's never been our engineer before. He's always done the pre-production for the band. First time he did the record though, which was really enjoyable. So I was stoked that he got to do that. And we recorded it as a 4-piece. So we haven't done that since the very first record.
Normally a 5-piece, is that right?
Yeah, normally, but you know, we've actually always had trouble hanging on to a 5th member. We've had like 4 5th members. So I don't know why the 4 of us work and we can't hang on to a 5th man, but that's just how it's been.
Yeah, sometimes that's just life. Yeah. What about with Nuclear Blast, with Marcus and the people that own the business and I haven't had this conversation with an artist on Nuclear Blast yet. So did they come to you with a strategy and say, look, hold on, guys, nobody knows what the hell's going to happen in the future here, but keep on releasing albums and we'll support you? Is it that type of thing that's being said?
I don't know that they said that directly to us. I mean, we went to them and said, we're going to start working on another record. And can we get some of our advance, you know? That wasn't anything, they offered up, or, I mean, like, it wasn't their suggestion. We went to them and said, hey, we're going to start writing. And obviously we're financially FUBAR. So if we can get half of that advance, that'd be absolutely amazing. But obviously they sent it to us. They're super cool about that. But kind of, you know, outside of what's just lined out in the contract, it was pretty standard.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I was listening to another interview in preparation for this one, a recent one that was posted on YouTube. So to your point about them all being video interviews these days, the only recent ones I could find were video ones of you. But look, you mentioned a word which I thought, you put a lot of thought into mentioning this one. It was it was a statement, contrived absolutes. I liked that.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great summary of a vast swathe of the population in the Western Hemisphere toward politics, the pandemic, and social justice. We just get this triumvirate at the moment, have we? So I think you're a great person to ask this question of, and I don't ask it that often. Don't get this philosophical, put it that way, but I'll go here.
I like it.
Look, are we heading toward a black hole? Or is it all just an illusion and one day we'll all just wake up and it's all just been a dream?
You know what? I'd say it's neither. I'd say, you know what the reality is that a phrase comes to mind. It's all part of the show, folks. I think this is it. I think we're just witnessing culture. I think all the absurdities and the duality of the far ends of each political spectrum actually really being just like that Spider-Man meme where it's just the same guy pointing back at the other guy. That's kind of what my contrived absolutes is. It's like you can look at people on the right and you can look at people on the left, and they're both going to tell you they know without a shadow of doubt what's going on. And they're both going to tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the other guy couldn't be more wrong. And to me, that kind of not only sums up where we're at politically, but it's kind of where we're at as a culture, even outside of politics. You see it in music, you see it with sports. And to me, it just kind of highlights what we always knew about humanity, which is that the myth that the cream rises to the top is just that. It's a myth. Really, it's just the loudest voice in the room. That's who gets attention. That's what culture is. It's messy. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. If you try to sit there and do the math, you'll just pull your fucking hair out. I think that's all we're witnessing. I think if you're a student of history, which I pretend to be one, even though I never had any formal history education. I think that, you can look back and you can find many times. I'm kind of speaking more to American history because that's what I know more about. But, you can find many times through our past where we've been as polarized as this, as agitated as this, as violent as this, whatever you want. So I'd say it's kind of to me, it just reassures everything I knew about people and the world at large, which is anything goes. There is no absolute. And, if you can get it. Scrap to the top. That's all that matters. That's kind of what we're seeing. It's just like, I'm going to impose my viewpoint regardless of reality. So, have at it.
Yeah, great point. It's a lot like that, isn't it? It's like I shall stick to my political perspective, regardless of all of the information that is going on around that probably suggests that if you have a political perspective, and look, we all do, I get that, but I liken it to the left and the right. They're just different teams on the same football pitch. It's the same game.
Yeah. It's totally the same game. And who wins the most by keeping a two-party system? The two parties.
Yeah.
So it's like they have an invested interest in the population being team blue or team red, because if it's team any other color, then they're actually in trouble, But
we have this weird thing as humans, don't we, where we like dualities. In Australia, it's classic. You've got two supermarket chains, two main ones, you know what I mean? Two parties. There used to be Ford and Holden, which were General Motors. But for years, this is like for 80 years or thereabouts. And no doubt it'll shift to being another duality. But we have this thing where it's just got to be one or the other. It can never be a spectrum.
Right. I think that speaks to people's fear and limited understanding and a reduced capacity to take the time and think about something logically, rather than listening to an editorialized opinion. It's kind of the same reason you see reaction videos so popular. People need to be told what to think. I was having a semi-political conversation with someone the other day, and I was kind of talking through some of these things, and they go, where'd you see that? I didn't see it anywhere. It's my own opinion. Yeah. And I think that's kind of this weird thing where we've found ourselves in this situation where people can't truly generate a unique opinion from an amalgam of sources and then come to a conclusion. They just sort of sift through until they see something they like and they decide that's my opinion. And that's not critical thinking. That's not cognitive thought. That's just following.
Yeah, indeed. There's so much of it. But hey, look, I better ask, how much time have I got left?
Oh, I don't even have a clock in here. Let's see. It's 1:27, so I got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. All right. Right, let's go at the bang. Scott, what's the strangest thing you've had happen to you on the road?
The strangest thing. I think I saw a UFO one time.
Oh gosh, where was that?
Well, I know it's going to sound dumb, but it was in New Mexico of all places. I know.
You weren't at Roswell, were you?
No, we were driving to Albuquerque from Texas, so we were driving through the middle of nowhere desert, and so I'm driving the van. Right, it's middle of the night. I'm just doing my drive shift, staring at the road. I think I probably was listening to some music or something, and out of nowhere, I see this. So I'm on a straight road on the horizon. It's dark, but it's clear, no clouds. I can see stars. I see this green light go straight up from the road and goes super high, like way out in front of me, and then it stops. And then it goes all the way back down and disappears. And I thought that was really weird.
You saw one.
I don't know that it's an alien, but I saw something. I saw something that was unidentified. And to this day, it's like the only UFO thing I've ever seen. But I still wonder, what the heck was that? Because like it wasn't a plane, because the planes don't go up and down. I mean, I guess it just could have been some sort of test light that just went straight, but I didn't see any. I don't know. It's just one of those unexplainable things. I don't know how to sum it up. But there you go. That's the strangest thing I've seen on tour.
There you go. Well, I'll leave this final thought with you. Just about all credible sightings of UFOs or unidentified objects, whatever they might be called, the UAPs or whatever they're called these days, have been in water or above water. So next time you're surfing, keep that in mind.
Water. Okay. Yeah, definitely. We're out in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. Well, no, you could have seen something. Gosh, you definitely saw something strange, there's no doubt. But look, I'll let you get to the next one, brother. Look, good luck with everything. I mean that. And congratulations on the killer career. I just really hope you guys can get down here and continue to do what you're doing.
Hey, man, we're just looking forward to working again.
No worries, brother. All right. Talk to you again soon, hopefully.
See ya. Take care.
No worries. Bye.
So that was Scott Lewis from the group Carnifex, and I do truly appreciate that he was willing to go there and have a very frank exchange about the impact of the pandemic on his business. If you like that chat, there are plenty more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. I'll be repurposing some archived content from other websites that I've contributed to over the years that have gone a little bit off the boil or no longer exist, so you can check out that stuff. But most importantly, I'm always posting new podcast episodes. In addition, if you did like it all too, if you could please like, subscribe, share, and all of that sort of bullshit. If I don't ask, you don't know, because it does help, let's face it. Leave a comment on YouTube. Don't know whether this one will go onto YouTube, but it might. I've certainly got the tools to put it up there in this day and age. I'm just limited by time with my job, with my household, kids, cleaning guinea pigs, all of that sort of stuff. Literally cleaning dogs, guinea pigs, birds, fish. The kids have it all these days. I'm trying to be a good dad, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job. My wife and I, if I do say so myself on that front. But anyway, my name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast series. Until next time, it is a very goodbye for now.